There are many different shows out there for kids nowadays, coming from countries all around the world. Where I live in Canada though, kids shows are a lot more strange. Even though wonderful shows like 16 and Total Drama Island came from here, TV shows for younger kids tend to be more strange and anything seems to be greenlit. So without further ado, here are 10 of the most obscure Canadian kids shows. Nanalon was created in 1999 by Jason Hopley and Jamie Shannon and originally aired on the network CBC during the CBC Kids morning block. It originally ran for 3-minute segments, but grew to full 21-minute episodes as popularity picked up. The show ran for only 53 episodes before the creators moved on to another project suited more towards adult audiences. This show is straight out of an acid trip, since the puppets look incredibly dead-eyed and the main puppet, a 3-year-old named Mona, bumbled about nonsense throughout the whole show.
Is it a picture of a flower? No.
Nanalon will only be a 10 though, since she recently became quality meme material.
Bruh, look at this dude. Wait till you see the... No.
If you're wondering why the show looks so messed up and disturbing, it's just in the nature of its creators. The show they moved on to create was Mr. Meaty. Yvonne of the Yukon was also created in 1999 by Ian James Corlett and Terry Clausen. If the name Terry Clausen sounds familiar, it's because he's an actor known for the voice of Krillin in the Ocean Group dub of the Dragon Ball franchise. Anyways, the show ran for 3 seasons on the Canadian channel YTV that every kid in the 2000s grew up watching. The premise of the show was a voyager from France, under the command of King Louis, sailed to North America but falls overboard in the frigid waters of the Yukon Territory, Titanic style by ramming into an iceberg. He's frozen in a block of ice for 300 years until a sled dog literally pees on him and thaws him out.
Volunteer, Yvonne, of the Yukon, frozen for hundreds of years. 300 years passed, and with some irony, his skin was thawed out by much need to pee. Yvonne claimed the land for his country's glory, and that's the start of Yvonne's story.
He then has to adapt to modern life in the Yukon. And that's it. That's all. The backstory is all in the opening song, and the rest of the series is about this guy just doing normal cartoon hijinks. Have you ever just been laying in bed at night trying to fall asleep, but then a random thought or song pops into your mind that prevents that? Often for me, that's the Doodlebops theme song.
Come and join the fun, 'cause we're laughing and we're singing all day. Hey, we're the Doodlebops, we're the Doodlebops, we're the Doodlebops.
The Doodlebops was a live-action musical show catered towards preschoolers, much like The Wiggles. Not much is to say about this show, as this type of show is very predictable. With kid-friendly slapstick humor like "Don't pull the rope,"
Don't pull the rope! Don't pull the rope!
Don't pull the rope! But ropes were made for pulling.
every single episode. It's just another type of musical show for kids that for some reason has these people? Aliens? I'm not sure what they are, but I loved this show as a kid. They even toured the country as a singing act. Jacob Tutu is based off a book trilogy created by Mordecai Richler, and is focused around the adventures of a boy who repeats every phrase he says twice, hence the name Tutu. Now, I have scoured every inch of the internet for a synopsis of the TV series, but I couldn't find one. I could find a synopsis on the books, and the TV movie Jacob Tutu vs. the Hooded Fang, but nothing about the show or its episodes. Though some of the episodes are on YouTube, there are 62 of them, and some of them are lost. The series was cancelled in September of 2006. The Toy Castle is a show based on the 1992 Christmas special, The Tin Soldier. It focuses on a group of toys who wake up every night once their kids go to sleep, and ensue in hijinks, but they had to return to their exact positions before the kids woke up in the morning. I remember watching this show as a kid and loving it incredibly, especially the episodes where the soldier and the ballerina were the focus of it. Each episode was 3 segments, and the 2 rarely showed up. The show was also one that was narrated, the actors in the show never speaking on the screen.
Red sky at morn, sailors take warn.
Oh boy, rain!
The goblin loved rain. He loved curling up in bed and reading a book while rain drummed on the roof.
This show was incredibly charming, and I sometimes still enjoy watching it to this day. For me growing up, Katie and Orby was such an obscure show that it only played on Playhouse Disney around 10 at night. Katie and Orby is about a little pink alien who crash lands in a family's garden and becomes best friends with their 4-year-old daughter. It's a show that is along the lines of Caillou, but there's no dialogue from the characters and is narrated. Even then, Orby only makes gurgling noises that are indecipherable.
Came over to the bed. He made his quietest "What's the matter?" noise as Katie rubbed her throat. "I don't feel very well. I think I'm sick."
The premise of the show is so innocent on paper, 2 kids, if Orby is even considered a kid, becoming friends. Though in reality, the premise of an alien crash landing on Earth would cause massive hysteria. Orby definitely would have been taken by the government and tested on. That is a much bleaker outcome, and it's a downer to think about. From the animation style, the horrible squeaky voice of the titular character, and the absolutely atrocious theme song,
Shooby-dooby-doo-wah-wah, my name is Angela, and you are not Nanette Memoir, just a lab jerk-based hat.
Angela Anaconda is honestly possibly one of the worst shows to come out of Canada. Now, bad doesn't mean insanely obscure in this case. Stemming from the popular Nickelodeon show Kablam, it's been seen before. However, not by this level. The creators and production staff superimposed the faces of models onto computer-generated bodies. The plot around each episode is around the same. Angela encounters a dream sequence where her enemies like Nanette Manoir meet their demise in freakish ways, like being flung through the air and falling through ice. Now, I loved this show as a kid, but as an adult I realized how messed up this show really was. Another gem from the channel YTV, Weirdos was a short-lived CGI TV show that was based on a toy line of the same name. Not much is known about the show, since the show was incredibly short-lived and only lasted for 13 episodes. Until recently, most of the episodes were lost to time in the obscurity of the show, and any home releases were very rare to come by and were only released here in Canada. Each episode was created from 2 11-minute segments, and nearly all episodes were found very recently. To learn more about the show's discovery, Blame It on George does an incredible job in his video Top 40 Lost or Banned Episodes of Kids Shows, which I will now link on the screen and below in the description. As mentioned earlier, Mr. Meaty was created by the same creators of Nanalan. With this more grotesque show, it raised a lot of controversy for its gross-out humor and among the vegetarian community for being based around 2 teenagers working in a meat restaurant in a food court. The one that raised the most controversy was the one with the tapeworm. I won't go much into detail since most people already know about that episode. The 2 main characters, Josh and Parker, were each voiced by a series creator. It first aired on Nickelodeon in 2006. Before being removed shortly after it moved to Nicktoons. If anyone knows, shows being moved to Nicktoons is like a death sentence. Now, We 3 is at number 1 for a reason. Just look at it. It's absolutely terrifying. Almost like the "don't you put it in your mouth" PSA with their use of puppets and costumes. From what I remember watching the show, these are actual monsters and not toys. They come out to play when the kid who lives in the room they occupy isn't in it, much like the toy castle, though they don't really care about being in the same spot they were left. The fact that 3 tiny monsters are living in a child's room states that monsters are real in that universe, and maybe that child is scared of monsters under their bed or in their closet for good reason.